Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good
Always
to
a pleasure
see you.
to see you. Like everyone else, your team is very responsive. I just want to ask about funding for reducing gun violence, with the exception of policing. What else can we do? Can we fund conflict resolution, job placement? Like, what else is there available for us to do besides adding more policing to reduce our gun violence? I know that we're fully funding foundation aid, which is great, but we also are still seeing that Black and brown students' graduation rates can be much higher, and literacy as well can be much higher. And so I'm just wondering, what are we doing to take care of those populations? And I just need to plug that for the Bronx, we need a cleaner Bronx, so I would love to see the DOT machine, I forgot the sanitation machines, the electric ones in the Bronx, so let's spend some money on that. More cameras for NYCHA. My NYCHAs are requesting cameras, especially the ones that are targeted with a lot of gun violence, like Morrisania Air Rights, which I know you and your team visited. So cameras for them, and creating more green spaces like Crotona Park. So I would love to see some money being placed into that. But can we talk about what we're doing to fund programs and other things besides policing for gun violence, as well as graduation rates and literacy rates?
Deputy Mayor, you want to go into what you're doing with the gun violence task force and some of the stuff we're doing around it?
Sure. The mayor has convened all city agencies, really starting in June, to come together and really put together a comprehensive plan to deal with all of the upstream issues, including housing, education, economic and workforce development, small business development, sanitation, and we are targeting the 6 precincts that contribute to 30% of gun violence in the city, and they're predominantly in the Bronx and in Brooklyn, and are engaged in community meetings on the ground in those neighborhoods and communities to contribute to those plans. And that's something we want to do in partnership with the state in terms of what those investments, because as we all know, those communities have not gotten the kind of focus that they need, and they're absolutely going to get it in this administration.
Thank you. And then can we talk a little bit about graduation rates for Black and brown students and the literacy rates? What are we doing to increase both?
The chancellor, and I joined him yesterday, he has a version of CompStat, which was used in the police department to do precision policing. He has a version of that. He's going to start doing it weekly with his superintendents. It will be included in principals. And I would encourage some of you to come and sit in and look at those meetings, because they're zeroing in on those rates. They're not waiting for the end of each semester to determine there's a problem, and they're zeroing in on those numbers that you're talking about.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to ask, what are some of the negative impacts you've seen on casinos for the community? I know you just made mention to us again that that's something you would be interested in.
We have not seen a huge negative impact on the casino in Yonkers. It's run well. MGM is a world-class entertainment venue. We work very well with the police department, state police. It provides good, solid, middle-class jobs for the community, some 2,000 jobs. When it becomes a full gaming facility, you have 6,000 jobs. It could be as much as, one of the numbers I heard was 12,000, but I think it's going to be more in the 6 range. And but the negative part, the community know, if you come to Yonkers, you're not going to find, what you might find around other casinos around the country. You're not going to find in my city. And so it's been so far a real positive experience. But I do understand the pitfalls, and we do have to keep our eyes out.
Gotcha. Thank you. Mayor Sheehan, I see that you're asking to keep the $15 million capital city funding. I hope some of that goes to pave the roads in downtown. My car would thank you if the roads get paved. I was also looking for an apartment here, and I see that the price, like the rental prices, are similar to what I'm seeing in New York City. Can you speak to why that may be right now?
So, we don't have enough housing.
Okay.
There was a question about, the governor's proposal doesn't speak specifically to affordable housing, but when there's more housing on the market, we do tend to see that rental rates will then normalize. And so, right now, we have a little bit of a blip because we had a bunch of housing that was built, and now we're in a bit of a lull, but we do have 1,500 more units of affordable housing that are in the pipeline. And so we're going to be seeing that come online over the next 3 years. We aim to pave the streets. We paved State Street, and then we had a water main break, so, that's why we're always here asking for funding. But I will say that the additional CHIPS money and the federal funding, we are doubling what we're spending on streets, but we're doing that because we have the $15 million. If we didn't have that funding, it really curtails our ability to truly be a capital city and to address some of the challenges that you're talking about.
Thank you. Mayor Evans, how many students would you say, or young people would you say are unemployed right now in your city?
I would say probably, this is ballpark, probably that want to work, I would say like 40% probably.
40%. Thank you. Comptroller, thank you for being here. You put out a good report not too long ago about unemployment for adolescents. And I just want, if possible, you or Speaker Adams could speak to what it would mean to our economy if we had more young people working, and if there's a possible negative cost to our city for that same purpose.
Oh, gosh. Well, I will start by saying thank you. One of the best things that I like to see during those summer, is that SYEP program, where our youth are able to do what it is that makes them happy for the summer, but it's not enough. It's not long enough. And we've also seen employers that want to continue to build with those students, and they're not able to do that because we simply cut the program off the city cuts the program off way too soon. So if we could expand that, I would say year-round. My own granddaughter loved SYEP last year. And it was just a fantastic thing for a building block to come into employment. If we could continue that, that would be fantastic.
Amen. No, I totally agree that report, the cost of what it means to have young people who, obviously there's a whole set of issues for them if they don't have some productive activity, but just what it means over time to have pathways, like all the data shows that, people who have some set of connections, who get a job, have somebody who can give them a reference, have a chance to work their way up, and that's what will make our city.
Thank you. And then, so I don't fully understand we say we have a need for housing, but then we also have a vacancy rate. Can you just explain to me how this works? If we have so many high vacancy rate, then why do we need to build more housing?
I'm going to let you take that.
Yeah,
That's all in that.
Both things, a few things are true. We don't have an overall high vacancy rate in New York City. The vacancy rate is low, and that's why rent stabilization increases. What we do have right now are these warehoused units where, some tens of thousands of units, probably around 70,000, are being held off the market even though they're rent stabilized, because what the landlords are saying is that the cost that they need to redo the bathroom or kitchen and make it rentable isn't enough to pay back the money that they would need to borrow to put it back in service. And so, we need every one of those units back online. That's why we've got a couple ideas for how to do it. But even beyond that, we do need more units as well, supply and demand. We have created a lot more jobs over the last decade than housing, and that is not all of the problem, but it is part of it.